The morning of her 39th birthday didn't start with cake or candles, no balloons, no wrapped boxes, no sleepy-eyed child climbing into bed with a handmade card. Just silence, the kind that seeps into bones. Olivia Morris sat on the edge of the bed she once shared with Ryan, staring at a chipped mug filled with lukewarm coffee. A sunbeam pushed its way through the blinds, lighting up the dust on the floorboards, as if even the house itself had stopped pretending. Downstairs, the engine of Ryan's BMW purred to life, then faded into the distance. He didn't say goodbye. He hadn't in weeks. The Morris home sat on a quiet cul-de-sac in Portland, Oregon. White picket fence, two-car garage, the works. But nothing inside had felt like home in a long time. The walls, once filled with laughter and routine chaos, now echoed with emptiness. Their son, Caleb, had left for college in August, and it felt like he had taken the last threads holding the marriage together with him. Olivia had always been the fixer. When Caleb was sick, when Ryan lost his job back in 2015, when her own mother passed without warning, Olivia stitched their lives back together like a woman possessed. She ran the house, worked part-time as a paralegal, kept everyone moving forward. But no one noticed that the fixer was slowly coming undone. And Ryan? He was thriving again, at least outwardly. New job, new friends, a personal trainer. He had even started wearing cologne again, something Olivia hadn't smelled on his skin since their 10th anniversary. She suspected the affair, but never confirmed it. It was one of those truths that hurt more when spoken aloud. Instead, they danced a silent, painful waltz in the same house, pretending that Caleb's absence wasn't a gaping void. That morning, Olivia's phone buzzed. A calendar notification. Dinner reservation. 7 p.m., Le Pichet. Ryan had made the reservation 3 weeks ago, a rare spark of hope back then. Maybe, she had thought, they'd reconnect. Maybe 39 would be the year they found each other again. But by 7:05 p.m., she was sitting alone at a candlelit table, stirring a glass of red wine she didn't even want. Waiters moved with elegant efficiency around her, stealing glances. Was she being stood up? Celebrating alone? She looked stunning, though she didn't feel it. Her deep blue dress fit just right, and her makeup was understated perfection. But her eyes were tired, the kind of tired makeup couldn't hide. At 7:23 p.m., she pulled out her phone. One message. From Ryan. I'm not coming. I left the papers on the kitchen counter. Signed. No, happy birthday. No, we need to talk. Just that. Olivia didn't cry. Not there. Not where people could see. She paid for the wine. She barely touched, walked out into the crisp September air, and drove home on autopilot, not remembering the turns. The papers were there, just like he said, a manila folder resting on the marble kitchen counter, beside the fruit bowl she had refilled that morning. Divorce papers, fully filled out, no questions, no chance to talk it over. Just done. She didn't open the folder right away. She sat down on the couch, turned on the lamp, and stared at the family portrait hanging above the fireplace. The three of them, at Cannon Beach, Caleb, maybe 12 at the time, sand on his jeans, Ryan's arm around both of them. Olivia had framed that photo herself. Then something caught her eye. The corner of an envelope, tucked behind the folder. Her name written in Ryan's handwriting. Not a letter, just a card. Happy birthday, Olivia. You deserve to be happy. Ryan. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't an explanation. It was a period at the end of a sentence she hadn't realized was being written for months. The sound that escaped her was neither a sob nor a scream, more like a gasp, like the wind had been knocked out of her and the world tilted just slightly, off axis. Because the worst part wasn't the divorce. It was the realization that she hadn't felt loved, truly loved, in years. That somewhere along the line she had stopped asking for more. And now, even grief felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. The morning after her birthday, Olivia stood barefoot in the kitchen, staring at the divorce papers as if they were written in another language. The silence of the house pressed in like fog, She could still smell the cologne Ryan had left on, the hallway coat rack. His keys were gone, his shoes too. The emptiness wasn't new, but it had changed shape. Before, it was absence with potential. Now, it was final. Her phone lit up with a message from Caleb. "Hey Mom, happy belated. Sorry. I missed your call, been slammed with midterms. Love you." She didn't reply. Not yet. Outside, the leaves were beginning to fall. Portland's early autumn carried that damp, woodsy scent Olivia had always loved. But now the smell triggered something else. Memories of wet leaves stuck. To boots after family hikes, of cider and paper cups, of pretending. She walked out to the front porch with her coffee and stared at the street. Across the road, the Harveys were playing with their twin toddlers in the yard. The father, Ben, waved. She forced a smile and waved back. The Morris house didn't look like a place where a marriage had just ended. The grass was trimmed, the recycling bin was out, the porch light worked. And yet Olivia felt like everything was crumbling under her feet, silently and invisibly. At the law firm, her colleagues noticed something was off, but no one asked. Olivia was efficient, focused, and polite as ever. A new client came in, Laura Mendel, recently widowed, needing estate support. The irony was cruel. Laura's grief was raw. Her voice cracked when she talked about her husband's journal. He wrote in it every day, "I can't bring myself to read it," she confessed. Olivia simply nodded, offering the sort of steady, warm silence that only someone deeply familiar with loss could. Back home, she finally called Caleb. He picked up on the third ring, his voice crackly. "Hey, Mom!" His dorm was loud, music and laughter behind him. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, her voice soft. "I just wanted to hear your voice." "Everything okay?" Olivia paused. "Your dad and we're separating. He's already filed." Silence. Caleb exhaled. "I kinda saw it coming." That sentence landed harder than she expected. "You did?" she asked. "Yeah, you guys stopped laughing. Dad always seemed distant. And you looked tired all the time. Not like just work tired, tired in your soul, you know?" Olivia smiled, despite herself. "You're too wise for your age." "I learned from the best," he replied. "Are you okay?" "I will be," she said, even though she didn't believe it. After they hung up, Olivia sat alone in her living room, surrounded by pictures and silence. And then, something inside her stirred. Not rage, not hope. Something else. A question she hadn't asked in a long time. Who am I, if not someone's wife? It started subtly. The neighbors began to notice Ryan's absence. Invitations to backyard barbecues arrived with a slight pause. "You're welcome to come. Alone, of course." At the grocery store, familiar faces gave her soft, pitying smiles, the kind reserved for widows and women left behind. Ryan hadn't moved far, just across the river to a high-rise apartment downtown. Caleb had visited him once and described it as cold but expensive-looking. "He has a bar cart," Caleb had said. Like, who even uses a bar cart? Olivia avoided looking him up. No late-night stalking of social media, no curiosity about where he ate or who he was with. But she couldn't stop thinking about why he didn't fight for them, why he chose to leave on her birthday, why he hadn't even said goodbye properly. That question festered. One Sunday, Olivia received a call from Ryan's sister, Janine. They hadn't spoken in months. "Olivia, I heard," Janine said. "I just want you to know, I'm furious with him." "I appreciate that," Olivia replied, unsure what else to say. "I don't know what's going on with him lately. He's different." Olivia wanted to ask if he had someone else, but something about hearing Janine's voice made her shrink back from confrontation. "We all change," she said quietly. "But not like this." Olivia's work suffered. Small mistakes crept into her case notes. Her boss, Greg, noticed. "You need time off," he told her. "A few days. Recharge." She didn't argue. Instead, she drove out of the city, up to Mount Hood, to the lodge where she and Ryan once spent an anniversary. She booked the same room, alone this time. Snow clung to the evergreens. The fire crackled in the stone hearth. And for a moment, Olivia could almost believe she was still loved. But the moment passed. In the lodge bar, she sipped a glass of wine and watched a couple laugh over dinner. The man leaned in close. The woman touched his wrist. A soft intimacy. A stranger beside her, older, kind eyes, asked if she was okay. She nodded. They talked for a while. Nothing deep, just enough to remind her she still had a voice. When she returned home, the silence didn't feel quite as heavy, but it wasn't lighter either. A letter was waiting in the mail, from Ryan. His handwriting, 1 page. Olivia, I'm sorry I didn't do this better. I didn't know how. You were always stronger. You still are. I didn't stop loving you. I just got tired of being someone I didn't recognize. I hope someday you understand. She stared at it for a long time. Then she folded it, placed it back in the envelope, and put it in the drawer beside the divorce papers. She didn't cry, but for the first time since he left, she wanted to. 3 weeks after the letter, Olivia ran into Ryan at a cafe downtown. It was bound to happen eventually. Portland wasn't that big. He didn't see her at first. She was near the back, nursing a cappuccino and highlighting documents. He came in with a woman, tall, sleek coat, a soft laugh that made Olivia's stomach tighten. They looked comfortable, familiar. She watched them for 5 seconds too long. When Ryan finally noticed her, his expression flickered. Surprise, then guilt. He gave her a small nod. Olivia nodded back. Neither approached. She left a minute later, hands trembling slightly. Back at home, she didn't cry. She cleaned the entire kitchen instead. Then organized the spice drawer. Then vacuumed the upstairs hallway. Grief had strange ways of keeping busy. That night, a neighbor dropped by, Eliza, a recently divorced mom of 2 boys. She held a bottle of red wine like a peace offering. I heard, well, everything, Eliza said, eyes kind. I'm not here to pry, just figured you might want company. Olivia hesitated, then stepped aside. Come in. They talked for hours. It wasn't about men, or divorces, or sadness. They talked about how expensive apples were now, about books, about hiking trails, about how Eliza's youngest kid had started drawing dinosaurs with 6 legs. That was the first night Olivia laughed in months. Over the following weeks, Eliza became a quiet presence. She didn't push, didn't offer hollow advice. She simply showed up with coffee or silence or chocolate cake. Meanwhile, at work, Olivia started taking on smaller cases. Wills, adoptions, family trusts. She couldn't stomach the ugliness of divorces anymore. One afternoon, she got a new client. A woman named Dana, late 20s, soft-spoken, clearly nervous. I just found out I'm pregnant, Dana said. He doesn't know. I don't want anything from him. I just want to make sure everything is legal. For later. Olivia nodded, professional. But something about Dana, her hesitation, her fear, her quiet strength, stirred something deep. After the appointment, Olivia sat in her office, staring out at the gray skyline. She remembered when she found out she was pregnant with Caleb. Ryan had cried, joy flooding his face. They'd been so young, so sure they could weather anything. Now, even the memory felt like someone else's life. The next day, she went to therapy for the first time in a decade. I don't know what I want, she confessed. I don't even know who I'm rebuilding for. And her therapist, a woman with soft eyes and blunt words, replied, Then let's start by figuring out who you are when no one's watching. It happened on a Tuesday. Olivia came home from work to find the front door slightly ajar, not wide open, just barely unlatched. Her heart skipped. She pushed it open, slowly. The hallway light was on. Her coat still hung by the door. The fruit bowl was untouched. No signs of a break-in. No sound. Then she saw the living room. Ryan, sitting on the couch, elbows on knees, hands clasped together. Her breath caught. How did you get in? I still had the spare. I thought I returned it, he said, voice quiet. I knocked, but... You shouldn't be here, she interrupted. Her voice shook, more from adrenaline than fear. I know, he said, standing. I'm sorry. I needed to see you. For real. Not from across a coffee shop. Olivia crossed her arms. Then say whatever it is and leave. Ryan hesitated. I messed everything up. I know that. I thought leaving would fix it. That we were too far gone. But now I'm not sure if I left because it was broken or because I was. The words hung heavy between them. I saw you, she said, with her. Ryan looked down. It wasn't what you think. Olivia stepped forward, not in anger, but in cold, exhausted clarity. I think it was intimate, familiar. I think you looked more present with her than you've looked with me in years. Am I wrong? He didn't answer. That's what I thought, she said. I didn't cheat, Ryan finally said, but I did leave long before I walked out. Olivia didn't flinch. You left on my birthday. I didn't plan it like that. But you knew. I thought maybe it would free you too. She scoffed, a hollow sound. You didn't set me free, Ryan. You left me in a house, full of ghosts. Ghosts of the life we built, the plans we made. And you didn't even say goodbye. You signed a contract and vanished. His voice cracked. I didn't know how to say goodbye to someone I spent my whole life with. That's the thing, Olivia said. You didn't say goodbye. You erased me. Silence again. And this time she didn't try to fill it. Ryan reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He set it gently on the coffee table. She didn't open it. It was for your birthday, he said. I bought it months ago, before I made the decision. She stared at the box like it might explode. Then why didn't you give it to me? I didn't think I deserved to. He stood, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm sorry, Olivia. Not just for leaving, but for letting you do all the heavy lifting for so long. I wasn't the man you deserved. I couldn't be. She didn't follow him to the door. She didn't look back when it clicked shut behind him. Only when she was alone again did she finally reach out, open the box, and see what had been waiting there. A necklace. Simple. Elegant. A single sapphire on a gold chain. Her birthstone. She pressed the lid closed slowly. It didn't change. Anything. Not the silence. Not the distance. Not the growing suspicion that Ryan's leaving had only scratched the surface of what was breaking inside her. And yet, that night, she pulled out a notebook she hadn't touched in years. Back when she used to write short stories, poems, pieces of herself she had packed away for motherhood and marriage. She opened to a blank page and wrote, The moment he left, I didn't shatter. I unfolded. For 3 days, the box stayed on the kitchen counter. Sometimes Olivia would glance at it while pouring coffee or chopping vegetables. She didn't touch it again, didn't wear the necklace, but she also didn't throw it away. Ryan didn't reach out, and she didn't expect him to. His appearance had been a final echo, not a new beginning. Closure came in strange forms, and sometimes it showed up as a sapphire in a velvet box. At work, Olivia's focus sharpened. She began to schedule more consultations, revisiting old clients who had been waiting for her return. Greg noticed the shift. You seem steadier, he remarked over coffee one morning. I'm not, she replied, but I'm tired of floating. That weekend, she met Eliza at a small gallery downtown. It was a local exhibit, mostly watercolor portraits and abstract landscapes. They stood before a piece called Fracture and Flow, a shattered window pane painted in waves of blue. Eliza tilted her head. Looks like Sadness and Survival had a baby. Olivia laughed softly. Maybe that's what healing is. Later that night, over drinks, Eliza finally asked the question neither had dared voice. Do you still love him? Olivia didn't answer right away. I think I love the version of him I married. The version who held Caleb for the first time and cried. The version who danced with me in the kitchen when the power went out. She paused. But that Version's long gone, and I think maybe so am I. Eliza nodded, saying nothing. The next morning, Olivia finally called her sister, Natalie, in Colorado. They hadn't spoken in nearly a year. Their relationship had been distant, mostly due to time zones and resentment Olivia didn't fully understand. Natalie picked up, quickly, her voice surprised but warm. "Well, look who's alive," Olivia smiled. "Thought I'd check in. Figured a divorce and emotional reckoning were good reasons." "You okay?" "I'm figuring it out." They talked for an hour. About their childhood, about their mother, about all the things they hadn't said in years. When they hung up, Olivia felt something small shift inside her. Not joy, not peace, just movement. And that was enough. At therapy, she admitted something she hadn't before. "I think I'm angry," she said. "Why now?" her therapist asked. "Because I've realized I gave up pieces of myself so quietly I didn't even notice they were missing. And now? Now I want them back." By mid-December, the days grew shorter, and the cold seeped deeper into the walls of the house. Olivia decorated the porch with white lights, minimal, peaceful. This would be the first Christmas without Ryan. The first with Caleb coming home to a divided home. She wasn't sure how to tell him that she didn't want to keep pretending everything was fine. When Caleb arrived, duffel bag slung over his shoulder, he hugged her longer than usual. There was something different in his eyes. Maturity, maybe. Or worry. He glanced around the house. "Still feels like home." "Does it?" He shrugged. "You feel like home. That's enough." They cooked dinner together. Mac and cheese, garlic bread, a salad that neither of them really touched. Later, they sat on the couch watching Die Hard, their unofficial holiday tradition. Halfway through the movie, Caleb said, "Dad texted, asked if I wanted to come by." Olivia kept her eyes on the screen. "And?" "I told him I'd think about it, but I wanted to talk to you first." She muted the TV. "Why?" "Because I'm not a kid anymore, but I still care about how you feel." Her throat tightened. "You don't have to choose between us," she said gently. "I know, but if I go over there, I want you to know it's not because I forgive him. It's because I need to understand who he is now, and maybe who he stopped being." Olivia looked at her son, this young man who used to fall asleep on her chest and now stood taller than her. "I'm proud of you," she said, "and I trust you." That night, Caleb visited Ryan, and Olivia didn't ask how it went. Some things were meant to belong only to the two of them. In the days that followed, Olivia began doing small things for herself. She started journaling again, nothing fancy, just 10 minutes in the morning. She signed up for a painting class at the community center. She called Eliza to join her for trivia night at a local bar. She also did something she hadn't expected. She booked a weekend cabin alone, just after the new year. The same mountains. A different purpose. She brought tea, her journal, and a new book. No expectations, no plan to fix anything. Just space, stillness, her. One night, sitting by the fireplace, she thought of Ryan. Not with longing, not even anger. Just a chapter that ended, mid-sentence, but ended all the same. She picked up her pen and wrote, "I do not want to go back. I want to become something new." The new year came quietly. No confetti, no midnight kisses, no champagne. Just Olivia, alone in the cabin, wrapped in a wool blanket, listening to the fire crackle and the snow fall in gentle waves outside. At midnight, she whispered, "Goodbye," not to the year, but to the version of herself she was finally ready to leave behind. She didn't know what came next, but for the first time, she wasn't trying to rush toward it. Back home, Caleb had returned to school. Eliza's visits became less frequent. Her boys had basketball, piano, and a rotating flu schedule. Olivia didn't mind. She was getting used to her own company. There was something strangely holy about solitude. It stripped away the noise. And what was left, however uncomfortable, was truth. She resumed therapy once a week. Her therapist, Mara, had a new habit, asking the same question at the end of every session. What do you need to let go of this week? The answers came slower now. Not because she didn't know, but because naming them made the release real. This week, she said, the hope that he'll ever truly explain why he left. The following week, the need to feel like I won. And one quiet Thursday in February, she answered, the belief that loneliness means failure. March arrived with the first hints of spring, barely visible, but there in the way the air softened and the trees whispered of color. One morning, a letter arrived. Not a text, not an email, an actual letter, addressed in Ryan's unmistakable handwriting. Olivia held it for a full day before opening it. Olivia, I wanted to say goodbye the right way. I accepted a job offer in Chicago. I'll be moving at the end of the month. I've been seeing someone. I didn't want to tell you like this, but I also didn't want to lie by omission anymore. Her name is Claire. It's not perfect. It's something else. And maybe that's what I'm chasing now. Something different, even if it doesn't feel like home. You always were home. I don't say that to win you back. I say it because it's true. I didn't leave because of you. I left because of me. Because I was weak. Because I waited too long to say the things that mattered. And when I finally tried, there was nothing left to rebuild. You deserved a love that fought for you. I wasn't brave enough to be that man. I hope you find something better, even if it's just peace. Ryan Olivia didn't cry, not at first. But that night, she sat in the backyard wrapped in her coat, watching the stars blink through thin clouds. And the stillness hit her like a punch. He was really gone. Not just out of the house. Not just out of the city. Out of the life they built. Out of the home they filled. Out of every quiet corner she used to imagine them growing old in. And in that moment, more than in the silence after the divorce papers, more than in the night she saw him with someone else, she felt the depth of loss, not rage, not heartbreak, just the sharp ache of finality. She thought about calling Caleb but didn't. Thought about writing Ryan back but couldn't. Instead, she wrote in her journal, "Closure isn't a door slammed shut. It's a room that empties out slowly until one day you realize you're the only one still standing inside it." Days passed, then weeks. One Sunday, she went to the farmer's market alone, bought tulips, made soup, read half a novel in bed with the windows open. The necklace still sat in her drawer, untouched. She hadn't spoken to Ryan since the letter. She wouldn't. There was nothing else to say. In Chicago, he would start a new life, new job, new apartment, new woman. And she, Olivia Morris, would stay in Portland. Not out of inertia, but out of choice. She had built a new kind of quiet around herself, one that didn't feel hollow. But there were nights, the cold ones, the long ones, where she would turn in bed and instinctively reach across the sheets, only to find space. And the tragedy was not that Ryan left. The tragedy was that, over time, so had she. Not from him, from herself. And now, with no one left to become for anyone else, she had to figure out who she still was beneath it all. Not a wife, not a fixer, not even a survivor. Just Olivia, alone, but not invisible. 2 years later, Olivia sat at a cafe tucked into a corner of the Pearl District, the kind with warm lighting, mismatched chairs, and the sound of vinyl records humming low behind soft chatter. She wore the sapphire necklace, not for Ryan, not for nostalgia, but because she liked how it looked on her skin, simple, elegant, honest. She was waiting for no one, just sipping coffee, scribbling notes in a leather journal, and watching the city wake up on a late Sunday morning. There were moments now, small and ordinary, where the silence no longer felt like absence. It just felt like peace. And if Olivia's story touched something in you, a memory, a heartbreak, a piece of your own becoming, share it. And thank you very much for listening to this story. Subscribe to the channel and listen to other stories. Take care. And this story is a work of fiction. All characters, names, and situations are entirely made up and are not based on real individuals. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental.